Hi, welcome back to Jonesy Chats Wrestling. We're back once again to discuss last night's Friday Night Smackdown. Got some news regarding Braun Strowman, the Triple H conference call, and also the latest wrestling news. I'm joined once again by my regular colleague on the Smackdown side, none other from the channel SCW, Steve. How are you this Saturday, Steve?
Yeah, really good, thank you. Thanks for having us on as always. Looking forward to discussing everything wrestling, and of course, we'll say SmackDown's been another big week on the Blue Brand. So yeah, let's dive straight in.
Yeah, let's go to it. So start as always. Let's start with the fact in history this week then. So the fact in history, we're going to go all the way back to February 13th, 1997. On this day, Rocky Maivia, The Rock, for anybody who doesn't know, defeated Hunter Hearst Helmsley, Triple H, to win the Continental title on Raw, and this was back in Massachusetts. I imagine this would have been a very fun match. I remember they traded the Intercontinental title quite a bit. What are your thoughts?
Yeah. Would have been Rocky's probably first championship run with the belt, if I'm not mistaken. Would go on to WrestleMania. So, yeah, I mean, Rock and Triple H have had a lot of history together. And, yeah, this would have been the infant years of these two with their first rivalry. So, yeah, good memories from back in the day.
Definitely. They traded that Intercontinental title belt quite a bit, but it's quite funny to see where the sort of the elevation of where they go on to, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Definitely. So I'm just going to ask you, Steve, obviously we're going into sort of NXT Vengeance Day tomorrow. How are we feeling? Are you excited for the card?
Yeah, it's a really good card. I think that we are missing some of the bigger talents in some ways. I mean, there's no Adam Cole, Karrion Kross not on the card. Any of the UE, to be fact, actually want to mention Adam Cole. But there's some great matches put together here. There's some star-making performances, I think, that could be made on this show.
I think from an in-ring perspective, it's going to be great. That main event, I'm so excited for it. I think it's going to be so much fun. Yeah, really looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a fun card. I think, do you think we're going to have any kind of shots coming out of the pay-per-view, or do you think it's going to be all business as usual, quite predictable?
I think it's business as usual, but I mean, there is always a chance for a title change here and there. I don't see it with the main event, but I know that you've already checked out my predictions, George, and I took a bit of a brave step and I've gone for Toni Storm to shock the world in that triple threat match, and perhaps maybe her and Io I see as a long-term rivalry, hopefully in NXT. So it'd be good if we can get onto the baby steps for that one from this show to to WrestleMania weekend, hopefully.
Definitely. My predictions and bets and stuff, they'll be coming later today. They'll be on a live video on the channel Rated R for Wrestling. So if anybody wants to see them, they'll be there. I may do another video on this page, on this channel even. We'll see. But we're going to go into it. So this week, we're going to start with the news first. So let's go with the news. So we've basically got breaking news. Obviously, Triple H's conference call took place this week. And on the conference call, I'm going to pick your brains on certain points, Steve. So obviously on the conference call, Triple H said that Edge would like to come to NXT and work with the younger talent. What are your kind of thoughts of that?
I think that's great. I think it's amazing for the younger talents to be able to work with someone that's been, a world champion so many times, been on WrestleMania. Of course, Beth Phoenix is a commentator on NXT, Edge's wife. So Edge is probably no stranger to the PC. So the opportunity to have some potential dream matches with superstars down there would be pretty awesome for us to watch as fans. But dreamed of sharing a ring with Edge if they could only have it. And of course, in the last before the last 12 months, many of them probably thought they'd never get the opportunity. So, yeah, that sounds really exciting to me. How do you feel about it?
Yeah, I'm really, really excited. I think it's positive. The amount of sort of knowledge he's got in the ring with like promos and stuff like that, the way that could rub off on the kind of newer talent. I could see him really working well. I really could see him kind of having that rub to lead certain talents to the next step, which is good. And the fact is, Triple H said that this could be as soon as after WrestleMania. That's exciting, isn't it?
That is very exciting if it's just as soon as that. I mean, it's only a few short weeks away.
Definitely. We then obviously had Triple H name dropped a few new signings. So they've signed Parker Boudreaux. Parker Boudreaux, for anyone who doesn't know, he's basically looks like Brock Lesnar. He's had a lot of sort of hype on Twitter. Paul Heyman was bigging him up. Matt Riddle bigged him up. This guy looks like an absolute animal. He looks like Brock Lesnar Jr. Have you seen Parker Boudreaux at all?
I've seen pictures of the guy on Twitter, and like you say, he does look like a junior Brock Lesnar, certainly a beast in the making. Time will tell if he can actually replicate that in a ring, if he's going to be good, can work, if he can portray the character well. A first impression standpoint, certainly looks like that he's got that. He commands your attention straight from the off. So I really hope that this could be a star in the making, because if he does have the things that clicks together and we can make half a Brock Lesnar, we've got a talent here.
Definitely. Going back to kind of Brock Lesnar, like I remember Brock Lesnar first came into WWE sort of when he was in High Valley Wrestling, when he was partnered with Shelton Benjamin. I really hope this Parker Bodger's got that talent to be partnered with somebody else. Interesting enough, the other name he mentioned, second generation superstar, Bronson Rex Steiner. And for anybody who wonders that is, this is the son of the legendary Rick Steiner. Apparently he's with the Baltimore Ravens. He's another signing. Are you excited about a second generation talent potentially coming to NXT?
Absolutely, you have to be excited with second generation, any generation really of superstars, because it's in their blood. They obviously have grown up watching their family members compete in the ring. It will mean a lot to them. They'll want to live up to the legacy as well, to their parents beforehand or grandparents, depending on who. You look at such stars as Randy Orton, The Rock. I mean, they're all next generation superstars, not first timers. So the fact as well that this could be the son of Rick Steiner. Rick Steiner, fantastic in-ring talent. You've got to look back to the 90s and 80s even with WCW and WWE, brought a lot to the table, great tag team wrestler. And of course, if his son's anything like Rick Steiner was, again, heck of a talent will be coming in. So yeah, I'm really excited about this.
Definitely. It's good to see WWE go out and sort of increase their ranks. I think particularly with sort of bigger stars, if that's not bigger stars, but bigger sort of looking people, I think they need to replace that kind of Lars Sullivan. I think there's room for that sort of coming up. But have you got anything else to add before we go to the next bit of news?
No, ready for the next bit of news.
Okay, we've got some unfortunate news. So Braun Strowman, unfortunately, is back out of action. He has got an infection to his bloodstream, and this was apparently sort of last weekend. This is why he's not been on television, and it's a real kind of shame, really, considering Braun had such a good run sort of in the Smackdown going into the Royal Rumble. His performance in the Royal Rumble was pretty good as well. Braun can't seem to get a break at the moment, can he, Steve?
No, it's very unfortunate. I do feel very sorry for him and wish him a very speedy recovery. It's certainly it's a worry when I saw that news break on Instagram just a couple of days ago. How about yourself?
It's just a shame, really. I would like to have seen him in probably one of the Elimination Chamber matches, but I just hope he sort of gets well soon. It'd be great to see him back. This guy's got still a load of potential. This guy's obviously an ex-world champion, and I just hope he can cut a break. I'm sure you agree, Steve.
Absolutely. Like you said, he's a former world champion. He should be in and around that area. I think it's a great shout with the Chamber as well, and hopefully he'll be back in time to still have a meaningful program at WrestleMania, because certainly Braun would deserve it. And for casual fans as well, we mentioned already, larger than life, someone that immediately grabs your attention. Braun Strowman has that, so you always want him in the WWE ring.
Yeah, definitely. We're now going to go into this Smackdown. So this is obviously Smackdown from last night. Obviously coming off of sort of Raw. This is obviously quite near the Elimination Chamber. So we'll start the show. Show starts, obviously, and it's got Roman Reigns with Jey Uso and Paul Heyman and Adam Pearce. This is largely kind of a promo where Adam Pearce says he's going to book Roman Reigns to be in the Elimination Chamber. Roman then says that he doesn't have to be in the match. The contract is he only has to defend the title. It doesn't have to be in the chamber. It then ends up with kind of Paul Heyman and Adam Pearce trading insults. And it then ends up with the bill of it basically is that Jey Uso is going to be announced for this chamber. And what they're going to basically do qualifying matches to get people in. My kind of thoughts of this, Roman, I'm a massive fan of him, but this guy's getting too big. I cannot believe that he's got that power over Adam Pearce. It just seems to be crazy to me that they're booking Roman could do what he wants. It's great that they're announcing Jey Uso kind of as one of the contenders in this supposed chamber to get a shot at Roman. What were your thoughts of the segment? Have you got anything else to add?
Yeah, I really enjoyed this start and segment to SmackDown this week. I think it's one of the main talking points of the show, actually, because like you said, the Roman was supposed to defend his belt in the chamber. He addressed Edge very quickly and saying that Edge obviously didn't want to really step up to Roman. The fact that Roman was able to get himself out of the chamber. Like you say, Roman's getting too big for his boots, but Heyman had such great lines to use there that you kind of, you really felt for Adam Pearce, the fact that, what are you going to do? You're going to fire Roman Reigns this close to WrestleMania? I don't think so. And saying as well that that's a lovely little joke as well. Last year's WrestleMania had the lowest attendance ever without him. Of course, we know the real reasons why it's the lowest attendance ever. But the fact is that, this was good storytelling. But also, if you look back after Raw, we spoke about this on the Raw review this last week, Adam Pearce is being undermined. And this is something I think kind of carried on in this show. I think Adam Pearce is someone to really keep an eye on over the next few weeks. So I feel the story is actually brewing with him. It could be on both Raw and SmackDown, the way things are currently going. We'll touch more on him in a minute. But as you mentioned, qualifying matches due for the evening. Fantastic. Why can't that be done on Raw? Raw's a longer show, would make more sense than SmackDown. But hey, this makes sense. It's logic. You've got to get yourself in the chamber. Roman, look, it's badass, it's heelish, but you know what? It actually kind of works with the Roman Reigns storyline going on right now. I completely agree with Jey Uso being someone that's announced straight for the Chamber. The fact as well, we need to play off Roman and Jey again. Like, Jey, if you win this Chamber match and you face me later in the night, you're laying down, aren't you? You're going to just lay your shoulders on the mat. We need that sort of stuff put out there because that could be quite a lot of fun as a building point, because I don't think Jay's going to win that Chamber match, but certainly is a fun idea of storyline going into it. And of course, Kevin Owens, we've seen him a number of times against Roman Reigns of late, but it's logic. It does work. It does make sense. And it would explain why he wouldn't need to go for a qualifying match, because arguably, KO, he's had some amazing matches. He's put Roman to the limit. And also, you would say that he's been unfairly done in a number of those matches. So for me, all in all, I think this was a killer first segment. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I think Adam Pearce's work was excellent. I thought it was definitely a fun segment. It's great that the Elimination Chamber is kind of the focus. I've got one kind of small criticism. I cannot believe that Roman wasn't angry at Jey. Roman should have been saying to Jey when he was announced, you're taking yourself out of this match. You've got no right to be in it. I'll tell you if you're in the match or not. Do you not think that was missed? I think that was such an easy thing to do to further elevate kind of this tension that they could build between Uso and Roman.
That's such an interesting twist. I didn't think of it like that, and I think that could work quite well. The way that I would interpret it would be the fact that Roman could say, Jey Uso, take everybody out, and then when it's left with me and you lay on the mat, and I just pin you 1, 2, 3, easy night for me. He could perhaps maybe get Jey to do a bit of the dirty work rather than knowing he's definitely got a fair match afterwards. But the fact that you've put it like that, I mean, Roman is that kind of guy. I mean, if he had any inkling that Jey would not lay down, you would think immediately his back would be against the wall, because he couldn't beat Jey Uso at those pay-per-views last year. I mean, the fact was the towel was thrown in the first time at Clash of Champions, and Jey Uso quit in Hell in a Cell because of the damage that was done on Jimmy. So you would think that deep down, yes, he's a part of the bloodline, but Roman don't really want to go back into that. So in a way, what you say does make a lot of sense.
Thank you. We then obviously had, as you said, Kevin Owens has also announced. That makes sense after the great work they did at the Royal Rumble and last week's finish with the stunner. So there's 2 people already in. We then go backstage. We've got Adam Pearce and Sonya Deville. Pearce and Sonya basically say she congratulates him for standing up to Roman Reigns. Sonya has a great idea for a tag match, and it basically says the tag match is going to happen next. So we then had an Elimination Chamber qualifying match. This is Rey Mysterio, Dominic Mysterio versus King Corbin and Sami Zayn. When this match was announced, I thought, what the fuck are they doing? I've got to be honest with you, forget my language, but looking at the contenders in this, it's a total shambles. You've got Rey Mysterio. I know he's an ex-world champion, but he's not been relevant. Dominic Mysterio, he's been trading wins and losses with King Corbin. The only person of any credibility in this match that maybe kind of excited me was Sami Zayn. And obviously, it just infuriates me. This is the caliber of contenders going into this sort of match to win a title shot. It's just a joke. Obviously, going into the match, though, we obviously had... it was very similar to what we've seen in recent weeks between Mysterios and Corbin. But luckily, we got Sami Zayn getting the win after the Haluva kick. I was happy that Zayn qualified, but I don't know what King Corbin's doing this match. What's your thoughts?
Right. I mean, take it back just for a second to before the match. Like you said, Sonya Deville was the one that made this match. And again, it was fixing things that Adam Pearce hadn't put together because they were struggling to get the qualifying matches together. So that obviously, again, I see an Adam Pearce underminement here. So it's another thing just to keep an eye on with that through the show. But going into the match itself, like you say, no one's really on momentum here. So like you say, we're filling spots in the chamber, but we're not filling it with winners here. A bit of me deep down wanted to see Rey and Dominic in there because of the fact that I wonder what they're building with this. But Dominic took the fall again in this. So there's clearly an underlining storyline of Dominic still not finding that identity that we've talked about in recent weeks. And this was the first time that Rey and Dominic tagged together as well, which makes you start to believe that if they can't even win as a team, there's no chance these guys at this particular moment are going to be in the Smackdown Tag Team Championship match come WrestleMania. But I would say that I was very pleased, like you said, that Sami Zayn picked up the victory here. The only thing that is wrong with this, and it's a nitpick, is that it goes against Sami Zayn's conspiracy theory because he's got an opportunity now for the Universal Championship. He won his match cleanly. He's got nothing to moan about this week at all, in my opinion. But, I mean, him and Corbin, I mean, it kind of, I suppose, made sense if you had to predict it before going in that these two would be 2 single stars in the chamber. This does make sense, but at the same time, I do say that perhaps there were other people more capable for the spot in the chamber because, I mean, Nakamura didn't have a qualifying match. Big E didn't. You could argue Apollo Crews, although he's in perhaps a bit of a losing streak as well. Seth Rollins, who is going to be talked about late in the show, of course, Seth Rollins made his return this week, is not in the chamber either. So there's a lot of people that you could have said should have been in qualifying matches, but weren't. We were given these guys, but I think the right pairing won here.
Yeah, you've hit some great points there. You've obviously a little bit stumbled on though, which I think you've hit the points. I think Nakamura, as I said, would be far better than Corbin in this spot. All the names you mentioned would be better than Corbin in this spot. And for me, the only way with the conspiracy theory, I think they'll pull it off, Steve, is Sami Zayn will get number one in the chamber. That will be the way that they play along. That will further elevate that storyline, which could be clever. But as I said, the positive of this segment was Zayn's in the chamber. I thought I was much rather see Zayn than Dominic Mysterio, so I think that was a good move. Have you got anything else you want to add before we go to the next segment, Steve?
Yeah, I mean, you said that about Zayn being number one in the chamber. I totally agree with you. The person I want to be number two in the chamber, and I know they've wrestled a lot, but you know what? Let's revisit that history. I want Kevin Owens to be number two.
That'd be fun. Based on the history and stuff, that could be really, really good. I'd like to see that, definitely. Both of them are Iron Men. They can work sort of for a long period of time to a good stand, so I'd like to see that, definitely.
Absolutely, me too.
Nope, cool. We then obviously had another backstage segment. It was Adam Pearce and Sonya Deville. This time they were the Smackdown Tag Team Champions, Dolph Ziggler and Robert Roode. The Smackdown Tag Team Champions basically say they're worthy for a shot. Obviously, Dolph's trying to play out with Sonya Deville their history before. And Sonya Deville basically announces they'll take on another tag team tonight, and the winning team will then be added. What were your thoughts of the Tag Team Champions wanting to get involved in this chamber now?
Yeah, why shouldn't they want to? They've looked and seen Sami Zayn and Corbin and not. They're the SmackDown Tag Team Champions. Why shouldn't they want to get involved? So I don't blame them for wanting to. But I'm not going to sound like a parrot too much more on this podcast. But again, Sonya Deville making the match here and Sonya Deville putting together Daniel Bryan and Cesaro. Sonya's in for a shout here. She's doing a better job than Piercy at this rate.
Yeah, I think it kind of makes interest. Obviously, you're elevating the Tag Team Champions to have an interest in the world title. It's fun. Once again, you're almost swabbing around to try and find people for this match. That's the thing I got. I think you're getting people. The problem is they haven't got enough upper main eventers or upper mid carders they can get, which is probably why you're filling this match with mid carders. But no, have you got any first one before we go to the next segment?
Not really. All I would say is, I mean, this probably comes in because I said at the main event itself, but they're all great workers. So
yeah, they are good workers.
Even if arguably you could say this match seems predictable, looking at the people we've currently got in the field, I would turn around and say that I was looking forward to it.
Definitely. We then obviously had this backstage segment. It was really kind of weird. We had Sasha Banks with Reginald, the sommelier. Sasha's obviously talking to Reginald. Reginald comes up with like a glass of champagne. He's almost like putting her over. He's basically saying how great she is. And it's really, really weird. She's obviously sort of been friendly to him. This was really, really abnormal. It was really weird. I almost got the sense of, as I said previous weeks, this is a slow heel turn for Sasha. I don't really get... This is somebody that nearly cost her a women's title. She shouldn't be friendly with them, surely. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree with you. I'm starting to really believe in what you're saying because Sasha's acting more and more heelish again. For me, this segment was completely bizarre, pointless. I don't have a lot of things really to add on it, really, because to me, I just didn't see the point of it. The only thing I would say, which a lot of people may also say was pointless, is why was Sasha with Kalisto. I believe they're good friends outside the ring.
Okay.
When Sasha did that hiatus from WWE a couple of years ago, she was actually on vacation in the same location as Kalisto. Like, I think their partners were together. So I think they have history outside of the ring as good friends. So that's probably why they were together. But everything else in this segment, I have no words, really. It was completely bonkers, pointless.
Definitely. We then obviously had an interesting sort of segment/match. We obviously had Big E with his promo. Big E was talking to Apollo Crews. It was about the open challenge. Out stepped Shinsuke Nakamura. We've then got an intercontinental title match, Big E versus Nakamura. This match was actually really, really good. I was very surprised they gave it away on TV. This is another huge match you're giving away with no build. And for me, I enjoyed it. It was fun. Obviously, Big E got the win by disqualification. Very clever on WWE's part, the fact that nobody got pinned. They can't afford Nakamura to get pinned. But it just was just kind of crazy. I was surprised they gave this away. What were your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, we talk about here, we're establishing an Intercontinental Championship division. We said this last week. In fact, we had Apollo Crews, Sami Zayn, and now we've got Shinsuke Nakamura in the mix as well. It's almost as if, I want to give a shout out to Tom Colohue on YouTube, if you don't mind, because he suggested on his Smackdown review last week that perhaps we should have had the Intercontinental Championship in the Elimination Chamber this year. It kind of feels like we actually are building contenders, and it would have made sense to have done so. But I want to go back myself personally to the relationship with Big E and Apollo Crews. I really liked their exchange before the match as well. I love the fact that we almost went off mic and we had to turn it up because they were kind of just talking to one another. I love the fact that Big E said, "It's time for you to go back to catering." I thought it was a killer line.
Ouch.
And you could really feel for Apollo Crews because he got enraged by this, and it really fueled for what was going on with this match. And I must admit, going through this match with Shin, like you said, when he come out, he's on a roll against Big E. Was Apollo going to cost Big E the title? I really didn't know which way it was going to go. I thought this was a very unpredictable environment. So for me, this made a very exciting match. Like you say, I think it was clever booking. No one was hurt in the booking at this point with Shin or Big E. No one with the false finish. Apollo Crews costing Shin his opportunity as well for that championship. Arguably, you could say kind of he's going towards that heel turn as well, but he's getting more character. And I think that's what Apollo Crews has been missing for such a long time. So, no, I think this was good stuff all round. Really enjoyed this segment.
You make some good points. I think the thing with it'll be interesting to see where they go with Apollo Crews. I think they need to do this heel turn. It's long overdue. But as I said, it was fun to see this match. Great to see Nakamura on the show. And I'd like to see Nakamura and Big E have another match. I think this could be a future Intercontinental title match. We're probably not going to get Elimination Chamber, but I can see it happening soon. Would you agree?
Yeah, I would agree indeed, totally. I want to ask one question just before you move to the next segment very quickly. Apollo Crews, like you said, long overdue, and this way he's going. Would you have liked to have seen Apollo Crews join the Hurt Business last summer? Because the Hurt Business, their average age, a lot of them are in their 40s. Only Cedric is in his 30s, who arguably could be the one to benefit the most from this group. With someone like Apollo, if he'd have turned heel, shown this kind of character then as a part of the Hurt Business, would you have seen him as like someone at the forefront that could have really got a monster push in WWE?
I think it would have benefited him. I'm not too sure it would have helped the Hurt Business. I think the problem you're going to have, it's a bit like, do you remember obviously the NWO? NWO was great when it was Hall, Hogan and Nash. When they started adding people such as Vincent and whoever they could find, it sort of waters down the Hurt Business. So for me, I don't think it probably would have worked that well. I think it would have certainly given him a lift. It would have make him more relevant. But he's very similar to Bobby Lashley. I think that might have taken some line that way from Lashley. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, potentially. I think there could be an argument made there. And as well, I mean, of course, Cedric and Shelton are the tag team champions currently on Raw. I mean, perhaps that would have been the role that Apollo would have fit maybe at this particular time. But certainly, I do feel I'm liking this heel turn from Apollo anyway. And certainly, I'm excited to see where it's going to go going forward.
Yep, we then obviously had this segment. This is the return of Seth Rollins. And this, obviously, before Seth comes out, all the roster's there. And obviously, it's Seth. Seth starts the promo. It's almost like a babyface promo. He comes out with his old music, which was babyface music. He then sort of starts this promo. People start leaving. He then ends up sort of going heel, and the only person left is Cesaro. He attacks Cesaro from behind. My kind of thoughts on this, I've got to give a shout out. Shout out to Don Mills, regular viewer. He's had this. I agree with it. All the faces and heels are together on the ramp, which totally defies us. It's just stupid. It just doesn't make any sense. And there's a lot of holes with this, unfortunately for me. You got Seth come back with his babyface music. This guy was back at the Royal Rumble with his like heel music. So it doesn't make sense in that respect. And I just thought this promo didn't do any good. I think if you want to turn Seth Rollins babyface, you should go all the way with that. This was almost like the position he was in, the respect he got of the crowd or the locker room was almost like he was the level of Roman Reigns. I just don't get why they had all the locker room out there. It didn't serve any purpose. What were your thoughts?
It was a strange segment from start to finish. Like you said, you made a point there about the Royal Rumble and he'd come back with his old music, old gimmick. It felt very Messiah. They wouldn't even really quote the Messiah when he came out on this. So he was noticed as the architect once again. Yeah. And like I said, he went back to his Burn It Down music. And the start of it, you really felt, we got Babyface coming back in. I kind of felt at first like, I'm okay with that actually because Seth, it's a babyface. We kind of want someone that's going to go against Roman after WrestleMania perhaps, and that would be something that would be fitting. But then he sort of slowly turned it, and we've had this with Rollins when he's returned from, perhaps past injuries. He sort of slowly evolved from this babyface to, what he can do for himself and saying how he can be a mentor to everybody there. The fact that, he had this new, vision like that he had, and it was interesting. But at the same time, like you say, there was this mashup of babyfaces and heels. The whole locker room seemed really excited to have him back. I think this is why we had these video packages playing so often beforehand. But yeah, I don't know. It was a bit of a bizarre one. And I thought at first Daniel Bryan was the last one leaving. I thought that was going to build up with them two. But then we know Cesaro was left, like you said. And Cesaro and Rollins have previous history, I think, from Ring of Honor, if I'm not mistaken. And you can see Cesaro like, you're not changing. You're not this new guy. We thought we were getting the new guy back. And Seth then obviously made the attack. But one thing that's a saving grace from this is that, this segment perhaps wasn't fully working for me. Away from the Messiah and taking people's eyes out and stupid stuff like that.
Yeah.
We go back to The Architect. I think that works. It would go back to Burn It Down. Better music. It still works for a heel, even though I suppose perhaps we want to shout Burn It Down. But the biggest thing of all, Cesaro versus Seth Rollins. This could be a 5-star classic on any show it's booked on. So in that sense, I'm willing to say let's wait and see.
Yeah, no, you make some really, really excellent points on that, Steve. I'd say that Cesaro versus Rollins, that's a WrestleMania match. I think it has to happen. There was a lot. There was some good in this. It's just very interesting the way that they sort of turned him from babyface to heel in this segment. It was just an unusual way to do it. But if we do get that match at the end of it, it's something different, it's something new. And I think definitely this would be a match I'd like to see. Is there anything else you want to sort of add?
No, I agree with you. It's a match I'd like to see, and I think it just goes as a testament of how well Cesaro has been booked at the start of 2021. We're actually putting him in potential programs with the likes of Seth Rollins. This is a dream, something we wouldn't have got 6 months ago.
Definitely. We then obviously had this match between Bayley and Liv Morgan with Ruby Riott. This was an okay match. Not much kind of happened. Billie Kay kind of comes out and does a distraction. Bayley gets the win. The right person won. I haven't got much more to add. Have you got anything else you want to say about the match? Anything to add?
I thought it was a fun match to watch. I do think Liv Morgan, we need her more in the ring because the more time she spends in the ring, the more she improves. There are some real star-making performances that she's had in previous times. I remember the Elimination Chamber a couple of years ago. She was a real standout performer in that match. I want to see more of Liv Morgan on Smackdown. We don't see enough of her. But this, for me, it was short. It was fun. It was probably lacking a bit of Billie Kay until the end of it. But overall, job done. Did what it needed to do. Fun little segment. Bayley got a win as needed. We move on to the next segment.
Yeah, we do. We then obviously had this tag team match. It's the Street Profits versus Alpha Academy. Otis and Gable. This was okay. Nothing sort of outstanding. It did what it needed to do. Street Profits getting the win. They're obviously keeping that momentum up going into this kind of Elimination Chamber pay-per-view. What are your thoughts of the match and the victory?
For me, this was a run-of-the-mill fun tag team match. There wasn't really much to say about it. The right team won. What I'm really pleased about, again, I'm going to take a real positive out of this. We saw a lot of Chad Gable in the ring, and Chad Gable is an incredible performer. We need to see, again, like more of Liv Morgan, we need to see more of Chad Gable. The Alpha Academy, I'm starting to slowly really get into it. Although I'm not the biggest Otis fan, I'm a big Gable fan. And hey, SmackDown's lacking tag teams. Him and Otis, forget what they've done in the past. This is what they've got to put together. We've got another team going. Let's roll with it. The Street Profits, though, victory was the right move to do. Street Profits are moving on, hopefully, to get their rematch for the tag titles very soon.
Definitely. I agree with the Chad Gable thing. This guy's so talented. I really would be a fan of him. Next time I do a draft, getting him over to kind of Raw. I'd like to see him team up with Matt Riddle, potentially. I think that could be a fun tandem, much more better than this Otis-Gable tandem. But no, it was interesting. And as you said, it's great that Chad Gable's on TV, so that's a positive here. Have you got anything else you want to add before we go to the next segment?
No, not really. The only match I want to see at some point this year, preferably even pay-per-view, but it won't be on pay-per-view to be fair, although we did get with Drew Lack and Daniel Bryan last year, is Daniel Bryan and Chad Gable. I think them two
That'd
together
be amazing.
Magic.
That'd be so much fun. It's also given the right time. I'd love to see that in an Iron Man match. If you get that for like the Intercontinental title, it could be so good. It could be classic, couldn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. It screams classic all over it.
Definitely. Just as the Street Profits are leaving, we then have Sasha Banks come out. She comes out and dances with them, so she's a babyface again now. Banks is all happy and stuff. Sasha obviously comes out saying that, talking about Bianca Belair. Bianca Belair comes out. Next thing you know, we've got the Raw Women's Tag Team Champions, or just the Women's Tag Team Champions, Sasha Banks and Nia Jax here. They try to recreate the spot from Monday night with the whole episode of the whole thing that happened. It ends up with the Women's Tag Team Champions getting kind of destroyed. My thoughts of this were... as I said, 50-50 booking with Sasha. She's a babyface again here. It's interesting to see sort of Bianca Belair and Sasha team up. The Women's Tag Team Champions didn't look very good here. Slightly concerned if we're going to get this match as a tag team match. You really don't want to be doing what you did with Oscar and Charlotte and putting that tag team belt on Sasha and Bianca. I think it'd be a waste of them, really. Have you got anything you want to add?
I agree with you there. I think the only thing that I got from this is that if we're going to have a Lana Naomi title match anytime soon, they will not be winning it. I see that we definitely will get a tag match here with these two, perhaps even next week on SmackDown. But I think that this will be used to elevate Sasha and Bianca as a feud, not to actually put the belts on them. But it'll be interesting to see what happens. But yeah, one thing I would say is that WWE, with this My Whole stuff, it kind of felt originally that they didn't want anything to do with it, tried to take everything away, realised that it really got over, so they had to go and do the exact same thing on SmackDown this week. So, I don't know, it felt like we should have just enjoyed the moment on Raw and moved on from it, but yeah, WWE can't leave well alone sometimes.
I think this is a really silly feud for you women's tag team champions. You've made them look like really stupid in this spot. They're losing all the time. They've got no real credibility at the moment. And I think if it wasn't for that whole thing on Raw, they wouldn't be in this spot here. They wouldn't be on this show this week. I think this whole episode really was just designed really for them to sort of use that line again. It was almost it's a big mistake. I just hope that we don't see anything more of this. You got anything else you want to add?
I can't promise that WWE won't do it again, but like I said, I do see a future tag team match. But like you say, the faces can't win the belts.
No, they can't. I guess it's one of them things where if they do win it, it's going to be Oscar and Charlotte again, which I hope not. They're good enough, but it's just such a waste of them both. I think. But there we go. Moving forward, we've now got this main event. So it's Elimination Chamber qualifying tag team main event match. It's Dolph Ziggler and Robert Roode, Smackdown tag team champions, versus Cesaro and Daniel Bryan. This was a really, really good match. It was fun. It was entertaining. And it ended up kind of with sort of people running out. So we had Sami Zayn and King Corbin run out. In the end, we got Daniel Bryan and Cesaro get the windfall. So I was really happy with that. And it ends up with all like the participants in the chamber kind of running out and attacking each other. This was a really good feel-good go home segment. I really liked it. It really built up the Elimination Chamber. Really made me feel interested about it. And yeah, I'm just so glad Daniel Bryan and Cesaro in this match. Just credibility. Anything else you want to add?
Yeah, I think it was good. Like you say, it was a fun main event. I felt like towards the end of SmackDown, maybe not so much on storylines, but there was just fun, which I kind of like. I want to have fun when I'm watching a wrestling show. I don't want to just feel like it's this painful thing to watch. So SmackDown always gives me that fun factor, and this main event really did that. 4 very good workers. I love.
Oh, sorry, Steve, you broke up. Sorry. Go.
I'm very sorry. I'll go from again there. I just was saying that I like the fact that SmackDown makes me feel like it's a fun show and a fun factor. I really like that Cesaro had this finishing sequence to put together to win the match. There was no neutralizer, but I love the fact from the swing to some form of backbreaker with the fact we had the sharpshooter as well. The sharpshooter's becoming quickly his finishing move, and we've gone from saying he's on a roll. He's red hot at the minute. It's like the hottest, red hot chili pepper you could find. Cesaro has to be someone as a favourite going into this chamber. I love the melee, like you said in the match, or everyone brawling. Kevin Owens coming out in that Steve Austin-like way, sort of throwback to the Attitude Era. Stunner here, stunner there. This was fun. It was fun. I liked it.
Yeah, it was definitely fun. I think it was a real good way to kind of end the show. I think it's exciting. Have you got anything else you want to add about SmackDown before we give a final score and final thoughts?
My vibe from it was the fact that Kevin Owens was looking into Roman Reigns. He was definitely unhappy watching from backstage there. And they did give the impression that we will perhaps get this match again. And of course, if we did get this match one more time, Kevin Owens is protected yet again, like he's been the whole way through, because he'd have gone through a chamber. But no, hopefully it will be an exciting chamber. I like the way it's put together. And like I say, overall, this was a fun show.
I think overall, I thought SmackDown was okay. I thought it did what it needed to do. I think the only thing I've really my only real complaint about was we've got coming out of this sort of booking of Elimination Chamber. Once again, we've got nobody that's credible to take that belt off Roman. Roman's got no chance of losing this belt at Elimination Chamber. I think we can put our hands on that. You look at the final 2, you look who's going to be winning the match. I've got it down to 1 or 2 already. As much as I'd love to see Cesaro, I can't see it. I think it's probably going to be Jey Uso, or it's going to be Kevin Owens, and I really don't want to see Kevin Owens, Roman Reigns again. I'm just kind of sick. I'm done with that. We've seen it so many times now. Kevin Owens has yet to beat Roman once. What's different this time? Have you got any thoughts?
I mean, there is that argument. It's perhaps not the superstar I'd pick to do it, but you can understand from a storyline perspective that they've carried on the feud, therefore it could. But, I mean, if Kevin Owens goes into the chamber and doesn't win it, perhaps they have a final blow-off on SmackDown, because the fact they still have stuff going on, they will need to have one more match. But, yeah, I mean, like you say, people are not on the levels yet. I mean, you look at the championship sort of scene on SmackDown. This year is very important. It's about building the stars for the future. And, of course, we're only in February. They're doing a great job with Cesaro, doing a great job with Big E. Arguably even Apollo Crews is having a better year than what he's had at any point in WWE at this point. And I know he had a good lengthy reign as US champion last year, but I still like the direction more currently of what we've got with him. There are superstars that could be, if we look at, say, 6 months down the line, that could be at the level for Roman Reigns, that could take the belt and then really rise their stock. At this particular moment, though, I do agree with you. Nobody is ready to take the belt yet from Roman.
Definitely. You make some fair points there. I think Cesaro said the building there is excellent. I just think this will be the mistake. If he does win this Elimination Chamber match and then gets destroyed by Roman in seconds, I think that's just the wrong idea. So this is why you kind of need to go to maybe a Kevin Owens or a Jey Uso maybe. But yeah, Roman's winning here, I'm afraid. He's winning. He's going to win the match overall. But it's just interesting what they do. If they're clever, I'd love to see them do the whole Roman sort of doesn't get the win, or he wins by DQ, this is a spot for Edge to run, in my opinion. I think this Chamber, when Roman's there and he's sort of got going in as the favourite, you really need Edge to run, and you really need to start building that feud up going into WrestleMania. You got anything else you want to add, and what's your score for the show?
No more to add from the show, but it'd be interesting if Edge does throw himself in any way, shape, or form, if he's just going to sit and watch from the sidelines. But can you give a score for SmackDown this week? I'm going to give it a 7 overall, I think, because I thought it was a fun show. Was it a perfect show? No. But did I have fun? Yes. Are there some things to take from this show to look forward to next week? Yes. So I think 7's a fair score.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the hammer. I'm going to go for 7 as well. I think it was fun. In ring, it was great. There's a lot of good stuff to talk about, and I think I enjoyed it far more than Raw, which is credit to SmackDown. But definitely, I think it was fun. I think next week's show, it's going to be interesting what they do. One last question I've got for you, Steve, before we go into this Raw preview that's been announced. What's your prediction of kind of the Chamber matches? Which match do you think is going to be better, the Raw one or the SmackDown one?
In ring, I'm going to go for SmackDown, but I mean, for storytelling wise, there is a chance it could be Raw because, like you say, the foregone conclusion from the SmackDown one is whoever wins is not going to be able to take the belt from Roman, but they perhaps can do a great story from that as well. It's hard to say really which one's going to be better going in, but I'm more pumped for SmackDown at this particular moment than I'm for Raw.
I tell you what I'd love to do, call it controversial. I would love to see Adam Pearce cost Roman the belt before Mania. I think that's... The payback is coming, so I think that's the only way Roman's going to lose the belt. So I'd like to see that. Have you got anything else you want to add before we go to this Raw preview, before the end of the show today?
Very interesting idea, just very quickly, is the thought of that... we go back to, I think it was No Way Out, either 2008 or 2009, but I'm believing it's 2009. Edge was due to, this was one of the times I really remember both belts being on the line in the Elimination Chamber, one at the start, one at the end. Edge was in the first one, he was the champion. He lost the belt in 5 minutes before we'd even got someone out of the pod. And then towards the end of the show, when it came to the other Elimination Chamber match, he took Kofi Kingston out of the other match, inserted himself into that match, and then became the world champion of the other side, which I think was the Raw side at the time. And he went on to WrestleMania, take on, I believe, John Cena in the Big Show. For me, I'd love to see an environment like that because I don't really remember the last time we had 2 men's elimination chambers in the same night. People may make the argument that we've not got a women's chamber match this year, and I do understand that because of the fact that we're used to seeing the women now, whether it was the tag team championships, the single championships, number one contender, you name it. But it's the first time we have this with 2 men's chambers in a long time. It would be fun if we could connect them, put some continuity in some form or fashion. Perhaps even, I mean, we spoke off camera of the idea of Drew McIntyre. What about the rumours if Randy Orton is actually to win that championship and Drew McIntyre's to be screwed? What if Drew is that desperate to get to WrestleMania and he's that desperate to get to Roman, perhaps maybe sees it, that's his way and path to get there, that he actually is the Scottish psychopath again, takes someone out, comes in, wins that chamber, and we get Drew and Roman. I know it's a match you said you would love to see at WrestleMania. It's just fantasy booking. It's something I don't see happening, but I think it could be fun if they could link things together. I don't know, just to really put a swerve into the road to WrestleMania.
100%. That's your dream match, in my opinion. I think Roman Reigns, Drew McIntyre, 2 of the best built wrestlers on the whole roster, I think, besides Bobby Lashley. And I think if that did happen, it would be great. I think I'm sticking with Drew. I think we're going to get Drew and Sheamus potentially at WrestleMania. I don't unless they produce something else. But no, I'm excited. I'm definitely excited about this Elimination Chamber card. We're going to go into this kind of Raw preview now before we end the show. So obviously 2 things have been announced for Raw this coming Monday. Just going to get your thoughts on them, Steve. So we got Miz TV with Drew McIntyre. Any thoughts of that?
I guess the Miz will probably tempt cashing that Money in the Bank if he can't win the Chamber. I'm not sure really. It doesn't really scream with much excitement when I hear the words Miz TV at the moment in 2021 because a lot of them have been poorly booked, and I do think that that's a shame because the Miz is such a great worker on the stick.
Miz probably gets Claymore kit. That's my prediction now. So it's obvious. Yeah. And the other thing that's been announced, we've got an interesting gauntlet match. So it's AJ Styles versus The Miz versus Sheamus versus Orton versus Hardy. The winner will enter the Elimination Chamber last. What's your thoughts?
It's an interesting way. I mean, of course, it's a 3-hour show. You need to kill time. It's more interesting to find out on the night. It's like the Royal Rumble. You don't want to know really going in. But to find out one number doesn't really hurt. And I think this stipulation does make a lot of sense. It probably will benefit someone like the Viper Randy Orton or, the Phenomenal One AJ Styles, someone of that sort of caliber. And because The Miz doesn't really need it with the briefcase. So, for me, I would hope they're not going to mesh that together. So, yeah, I think this is going to be something that's going to benefit one of the heels going into the Chamber.
Definitely. It'll be an interesting segment. I'm interested to see how it sort of plays off. I think I'd quite like to see Sheamus sort of get the last spot because
that would make a lot of sense.
they really need to follow up the Drew Sheamus thing they've been building for weeks, but it's definitely interesting. What we'll do, obviously, have you got anything else you have before we end the show today, Steve?
I would just say very quickly that it must be February, as you mentioned the word gauntlet match. They seem to do it every year now. It seems to be the time of year they throw the gauntlets out there. But I wonder what your thoughts were of NXT TakeOver, what your predictions were.
I've got quite a few predictions. I'll go to them. So in terms of the championship match, Finn Balor, I think he's retaining. He's not dropping the belt here. In terms of the women's match, Io Shirai, I don't see her dropping the belt now. I think she's going to retain. In terms of the Dusty Rhodes Cups, MSK, they've been unstoppable. They haven't lost a match since they come up. I can't see them sort of losing now in the final. It doesn't make sense. The women's one is hard. It's tough. It's down to... It's just really, really kind of hard. It depends how much they want to push Raquel Gonzalez. Because if it wasn't her in this match, I'd say that the heels would have no chance. But I could see the heels winning this. And the only thing that stops me, as you said in your video, I don't want to repeat what you say in your videos, but the fact that they're going to face the women's tag team champions, if that's Shayna and Nia, I don't see Raquel and Dakota heel versus heel. That's the only kind of thing. In terms of the NXT North American title, this is 50-50. This is a coin toss. For me, I think Gargano. I can't see. He's not exactly had the momentum going into this feud, but his curse is done, and I just don't see him kind of losing it here. I think he's had he's had it handed to him so much in the build that I think he's going to win, basically.
Yeah.
Have you got any kind of thoughts of the predictions?
Yeah, I mean, I think you make a lot of solid points with your predictions and stuff. For those who haven't seen mine, I'll share mine with you there. I agree with you. I think Finn Balor beats Pete Dunne. I think it's going to be a 5-star classic. I think these two have great chemistry in the ring. Finn Balor is amazing on takeovers. You look at the Kyle O'Reilly match, I think it would be similar. For Pete Dunne as well, you look back at his Tyler Bate match at NXT TakeOver Chicago. I see those kind of vibes with these two in the ring together. So I think it's going to be an awesome main event. I think we could get the Karrion Kross stare down with Finn Balor to win the show. I think that would be quite cool. Women's match, as I said earlier in the video, I really have to spin in. It could be Tony time. It's Toni Storm or Io Shirai, one or the other, but I think they will pair off with each other. I think that they will continue as a feud. I think Raquel Gonzalez and Dakota Kai will win regardless. That championship match doesn't necessarily have to be at Fastlane. It could even be at WrestleMania. So I think there's chance to mix things around, add more teams in the mix. So I'm going to stick with my guns and go with Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez. I agree with you at MSK. I think this is starting to really be the building blocks to rebirth of the NXT Tag Team division for a long time to really give life to that division again. And I think we could start seeing that. And the Grizzled, if they lose here in the final for the second year in a row, they've got ample reason to want to go still for MSK again. So it could lead to maybe future championship matches. So, but yeah, last and not least, I think Johnny Gargano retains as well. Like you say, he's not had the best in the build-up, but Gargano, it's the way. It's the most entertaining way on NXT. I really enjoy watching that group together. They, for me, in stitches every week. Johnny Wheelchair, Johnny Dr. Boy. It's Johnny Takeover. Remember, that's where he does his best work. So I'm going for Gargano to get the win.
Definitely. Before we end the show, just tell everybody about your fantastic channel. Please tell them about the content you've got coming up.
Thank you very much. SCW, the wrestling channel. It's available on YouTube now. This is recorded on Saturday, so Impact Wrestling No Surrender is this evening. If you're an Impact fan, those predictions are on the channel. You've heard my NXT predictions video now, so maybe you don't need to go and check those out. But the Q&A is coming this weekend as well. So, yeah, and hopefully we'll be providing a NXT TakeOver review show. That should be coming on Monday. So that's the next couple of days sorted for you.
No problem. Thank you for coming on. Just last night from me, got another video dropping later today. It'll be a live video, probably about 6 p.m. UK time, GMT time. Be doing on the channel Rated R for Wrestling. Just Rated R for Wrestling. Going to be a live video. Going to cover NXT predictions in a bit more detail. As always, the analysis you normally get on this channel with my bets and stuff like that. Please check it out. Also, last request from me. I'm on the road now to 50 subs. Elusive 50 subs. Please really help me by subbing to the channel. If you like the videos, leave a comment, leave a thumbs up. Really appreciate all the recent subs. It really helps, obviously, getting a thumbs up just to keep the content going. And that's kind of been it. This has been Jonesy Chats Wrestling, joined by Steve from SCW. And thank you for watching the video and enjoy the Elimination Chamber and the NXT tomorrow. Thank you very much.
Thank you.